the meeting to order. It's apparent now that we have a quorum present. We'll begin, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, led by the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Jeff Walker.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll ask the Constable to report on whether service has been made.
Pursuant to this special town meeting, I have notified the townspeople.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Let me begin by introducing, because all of you may not know them by face, the members of the Board of Selectmen. The Chairman, Jeff Walker, Chuck Bayer, J.R. Colby, and Alicia Greco, and the fifth selectman, Damon Jesperson, is away on a family function. So thank you to the selectmen for the great job they do. And the members of the Finance Committee. Again, the chairman, Gene Case, is away. Those who are here are the Vice Chairman, Erica Jacobson, Frank Remley, Larry Gay, Linda Allen, Paul Maya. Is that it? And to both the Board of Selectmen and the members of the Finance Committee, I cannot thank them enough for the hard work they do. They meet week after week, doing very, very serious work in preparation for town meeting and for the selectmen all year long. And I'm amazed at what they do. They get very little thanks for it. Now I'd like to introduce some non-resident town employees and get permission from the voters to allow them to speak at the town meeting. Normally, the only people who can speak at town meeting are residents of the town. The ones who are not residents, but who hold central positions, are Ginny Kramer, our town council, Tracy Blaze, our town administrator, Eileen DeVoe, the town accountant, Michael Riley, the chief of police over on the side, Brian Forget, superintendent of Triton, don't know if he's here, and Maureen Lynch, superintendent of Whittier Regional Vote Tank. General seating should be the residents of the town sit in these two blocks of seats and in the bleacher seats up back. People should not be standing, but should be, if they want to be able to vote, they have to sit in the seats where voters will be. And off to the side, we have people attending the meeting as spectators. I understand this evening that we may have a group of students from Governor's Academy, and I would ask them to stand. And I'm glad to see you here. That's okay, don't be bashful. We welcome you, and we're very glad to have you here. It's a lesson in how democracy works, because town meeting is the purest expression of democracy. By that I mean it's the only system of government in which every voter gets to vote directly on the proposals before the town. Some towns, because of their size, have representative town government, where the voters vote for a representative who represents a district of the town. But here in Newbury, as in most small towns, and as in all towns when New England started, town meeting is the way to go. Okay, I'll try to remember that. And do remind me when I move away from the mic. But anyway, so it is a pure expression of democracy. And it began, as you know, back in Greece, and the voters don't always get matters exactly right. Back in Greece, they voted to execute Socrates, and but hopefully we wouldn't do that here today. Another non-resident who may be speaking is the building commissioner, Sam Jocelyn. Okay. And the principal assessor, Michelle Branchiforte. Right? Thank you. The rules of town meeting are basically really quite simple. With this many people having the ability to speak, we have to have some means of providing order. And that's the moderator's job, is to provide order by giving people permission to speak. So to speak, you have to raise your hand, get recognized, come to the center microphone, which is right in front of me, and where you can be heard by everybody. Without my recognizing you, you cannot speak. You cannot simply yell out or speak without getting recognized. In that way, we have only one person speaking at the time, and you will get your chance. You raise your hand, you come to the mic like everybody else, and speak your piece. When you do come to the microphone to speak, you always begin by giving your name and address. I control the time. I only control the time if I have to. Some people are very fond of hearing their own voices, and I may try to speed them up a little bit. And sometimes it gets to the point where I have to impose a time limit on each speaker. And when I impose it, I do enforce it. So when I tell you your time is up, your time is up, and you have to sit down. You can't go on speaking. And that's only in the interest of keeping order. Now, a warrant is, we are here because of a list of, called a list of proposals called a warrant. And when Mr. Cunningham got up and said he had made service of the warrant, what he was doing basically was getting read into the record of the meeting that the people were properly notified of the subjects that would be discussed. The warrant is not a bunch of proposals that are before the meeting yet. As each article is called, a motion has to be made to take some kind of action under that warrant, and the motion has to be seconded. Then the proposal, which is the motion, is on the floor for debate. Okay, the next rule is very important. Turn off your cell phones. I remember years ago when cell phones were sort of a rarity, that I heard a moderator say, if your cell phone starts ringing, it belongs to me. And she enforced it, requiring you to come up and deposit your cell phone with her until the end of the meeting. I think now we can just say, please turn off your cell And with that, I think we can get started at the first article, which has to do with the payment of a bill. And I will ask Chairman Walker to make a motion.
I would like to make a motion, and the motion is, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $800, $500 to be added to the IT program services salary and wages line item, and $300 to be added to the employee life insurance line item. And the rationale, I do believe most folks have it. Would you like me to read it, or is it all in front of you?
Have you all taken up warrants at the door? Or you may have received them previously through the mail? Okay. Do you have warrants with you? They were mailed, and hopefully you brought them, but if not, they had copies of the warrant at the door. So Chairman Walker asks, have you read under Article 1 the rationale for his motion? If maybe it's safest to just explain. Jeff.
Okay.
Okay, for the sake of reading exactly what is the rationale that's printed on the warrant once and for all, so we all have it. During the course of the budget process, revenue estimates are used to determine the amount of budgetary spending that can occur within the confines of Proposition 2.5. These estimates are adjusted periodically based on actual amounts received. Article 1 proposes a net of $800 in addition appropriations that includes the IT services, salary and wages for the payment of a longevity bonus, the employee life insurance to fully fund the annual appropriation. Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Oh, motion made. Is it seconded? It's made and seconded. All those, do I hear any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. And Article 1 carries. Article 2 is again the payment of a bill.
I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $275 from free cash to pay the outstanding fiscal year 2017 Topaz Engineering bill.
Second.
Okay, the motion is made and seconded. Because this is a bill from the previous fiscal year, it has to pass by a 9/10 vote. All those in favor, is there any discussion of paying the bill? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes, it's unanimous. Go on to Article 3, a transfer of money to the Town Hall sewer connection account or from it.
I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $92,000 from the Town Hall sewer connection account to fund replacement of the HVAC systems and make various other repairs to the Morgan Ave Fire Station.
Second.
Okay, the motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes overwhelmingly have it. And the motion under Article 3 carries. Article 4 has to do with the transfer of money in the budget. And I hear a motion.
I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $350,000 from the sale of land fund to purchase property located at 31 Plum Island Boulevard. And thanks, Chuck. And let me just say as we head into this, that it wasn't so very long ago, I guess I've been at this a while, I call it maybe, before Tracy, that we didn't even have any free cash. We were in a negative, we couldn't even be thinking of things like this. So we've repaired a lot of things in our town, including the roads, including the highway barn. We're moving forward with the police station. So tonight we are entertaining something that has been on everyone's mind for a very long time. I have had a lot of people for it, and I've had a lot of people against it as they've talked to me in the last couple of days. So tonight, it's something I would like to do. I would like to hear what everyone has to say. There's no right and no wrong that comes out of this tonight. So, because people have to know that if there are things that are viable and are said tonight, I'm going to take them and I'm going to catalog them, and I'm going to try to make this a better project going forward if those things have validity. So I'm looking forward to hear what everyone has to say. Thank you.
Okay, do I hear? The motion is made and seconded. Does anyone wish to be heard? Is there any discussion on the motion? Sir? That's okay, you can come right up. Okay, please give your name and address.
My name is Ron Barrett, 18 Hutchins Road. I'm the president of Pitter, and
Speak up.
and for 25 years I've been working on things for Plum Island. And in 2006 we made a plan for the whole island, bathrooms, right-of-ways, how to do things. And when we got the money, $550,000 to do 2 bathrooms on the island, we got the one in Newburyport done, and we let the town of Newbury borrow, I think, $260 or $270 to put bags at the center so that the island wouldn't get ruined. I made Bruce Tarr at the time promise that he would give us the money back if we found a way to get a bathroom, which the other day after I went to the meeting about the gazebo at the center, and Tom Hughes told me for sure that the gazebo could be turned into bathrooms at the Plum Island Center. I then talked to Bruce Tarr, the mayor of Newburyport, our state rep, and Doug Packer was there, and made sure that the water connections were there, that the money that the state would give us to build those bathrooms there. He said, if everybody agrees that we could do that, he said, and everybody has to be in the same room and talk about this, he said, he would get us the money that he promised me that he would save from the $350,000.
When did this take place?
I've talked to Bruce 3 times over the summer.
Over this last summer?
Yes, yes. I've talked to the mayor twice. I've talked to Doug. I've talked to the state rep about all these things. So I really think that we ought to think about putting the bathroom right there where the gazebo is, use the state money, and have a bathroom that's safe across the street from the bad intersection. You know what's going to happen when the kids come off the beach, they're going to run across that intersection, which is crazy during the summer. If you got it up there, the cars can pull up and drop somebody off. The kids won't be running back and forth across a busy street and somebody might get hurt. And we own it. We own it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Is there, yep, Mr. Slane? Okay. Well, it was two people who stood up. Yep, sure, you come first, and then Mr. Slane. Third.
Not quite as tall as some others. My name is Bob Connors. I reside at 39 Annapolis Way. And I just want to take a moment. I've worked with all of you on different committees over the years, and I know the amount of time and energy and commitment you all make to this town. But I also know the amount of spirited debate that goes on when each and every warrant article is presented for a town meeting or a special town meeting. And it's impressive for me that the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, and the Capital Planning Committee have unanimously supported putting this on the warrant article. I remember back in 2009 when our town critical facilities were in poor condition, our town barn was closed, and we had DPW equipment failing. Police cruisers had 175,000 miles on them, and we had similar problems impacting our fire companies. We've come a long way in the town of Newbury. Critical facilities and equipment have been updated or scheduled for replacement. Schools have received much-needed repairs, including replacing the high school stadium and playing fields. Roadways, drainage are being upgraded on a systematic schedule. Our town docks and ramp have been updated. Our playing fields are being maintained and bathroom facilities being installed at the field house located at Manta Field. Now our town is focused on a much-needed upgrade to support a public beach. The Board of Selectmen, let me skip some of this here. Plum Island's Center Island parking area has been upgraded, the seating area created, trash and dog waste is being managed and collected. And I want to take a moment to thank Jim Surratt. Is Jim Surratt here? When you live on the island and you get to watch firsthand how our DPW crew works together, the work that they did in-house at Center Island was nothing less than remarkable. What would have cost in the public sector or a public bid process upwards of $100,000, I dare say that our DPW did this for thousands of dollars, and it has made such a dramatic improvement. In the past, a proposal was crafted to locate permanent bathrooms at Center Island parking lot. As the FEMA firm maps have changed, placing the Center Island location as its own, finding an alternative location for these much-needed facilities was undertaken by the Board of Selectmen. That's the result of the 31 Plum Island Turnpike. The source of funding is the land sale fund, which has been the depository for funds from the sale of surplus lots and properties previously sold, and primarily many of these lots were located on Plum Island. Now the town wants to reinvest these funds for a permanent home for a much-needed bathroom facility. In talking to our legislative delegation, we have a commitment from them that they will assist us in securing funds for the renovation from the Seaport Council or other vehicles of funding of the state, which issue grants for this type of areas. In closing, let's keep the momentum going, and I urge my fellow residents to vote yes on Article 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Connors.
A quick question. What is
No, please come to the mic, okay? I know it seems unnecessary for a quick question, but it really does help. And then the usual procedure, name and address.
My name is Gordon Mather, 21 Basinfront Drive, and my question is, what is the gazebo?
Does anyone want to answer the question? What is a gazebo?
There's the typical lag in this thing, and I always forget. I can answer what my concept of the gazebo that I saw is, and it's going to be, and someone can correct me, basically 4 posts, a roof, to seek shelter with some seats, not substantial. Waves will be able, and water move under it. I mean, honestly, this is going to throw you when I say this. If Ronnie Barrett can get the thing built on the Center Island and have no cost for the town, that's a good deal. So we tried immensely to stay out of a velocity zone with municipal building. That was a direction we decided that we would take. So when this building became available, we did a review of the cost with the word escapes me now, but we did an appraisal of someone that had no skin in the game. And that was the valued cost, because I heard a lot of talk today that the cost is a lot. Well, it is kind of a substantial building. It is centrally located. Sam can speak to some of the issues going forward and how we would go about getting them done. And, you know, not saying that Bruce is in this for too many different ways of speaking to us, but like Bob mentioned, Bruce had kind of said that he could be available to help, or there would be some legislative help going forward to do the insides of the building. So we're kind of going on that also. So, I mean, it made sense to us. We didn't seem to think there was as many accidents because the police had said, even though it's a busy intersection, people park and cross. We tried to stay out of the velocity zone. The building became available with a parking space, and the cost of renovating it would probably be of a net zero to the town. So it became interesting for us to pursue this. And once again, like I said to you tonight, we're here to listen to everyone and what they have for an alternate solution, and then we'll vote on it.
Thank you. Mr. Walker? Sir? Yes. Ma'am, you want to come forward? Recognize the lady first, and then, sir, you who are standing with the cap, you're next.
Good evening. My name is Susan Grillo. I live at 424th Street. And I have no question at all that we need bathrooms at the center. But to me, $350,000 is a lot of money. If we have it available to us from the state to build bathrooms at the center, I think we should pursue that before we spend the town's $350,000. And I would urge people to vote no on this article for that reason. Thank you.
Okay, now this is on the assumption that the state will provide it for free.
I believe that that Ronnie's statement that the state has committed through Bruce Tarr to provide that money is true. And I think that before we vote to transfer $350,000 of the town's money, we should investigate that, get an answer, maybe table this article if necessary, or vote no on it. I don't know what's the right thing to do, but I don't think we should vote yes.
Thank you. Sir?
I'm Mark Allen, 5 Old Way on Plum Island. And, okay, Mark Allen, 5 Old Way, Plum Island. I appreciate, you know, or I agree that we need a permanent solution for restrooms at the center. But when I read this, there's too many open issues of just transferring money we already have. It's like it's money, it's burning a hole in our pocket, and we can spend it as we have it, but then what? We don't have any information about what the permitting is going to require us to do with the property. Can we keep the building? Do we have to tear it down? We don't know that. That's not here. There's been no discussion. We don't know what the renovation costs are going to be. And I think that until the town can provide a total grand plan to make this happen with all costs involved, that we should table this for tonight, go back to the drawing board, work this out, and come back with something at annual town meeting. So if it's appropriate, I move this motion be tabled.
I think some of the discussion that we've had, and I think that was well stated, but we didn't not go about doing our homework before we headed in that direction. And one of the key people that knows a lot of the issues, obviously, that are in front of us on a structure such as this, in the position it's in, would be our building inspector. And Sam, can you at least speak to some of the things Mark said, and then, you know, we'll move along from that position?
Okay. Okay. Well, now we have a motion to table and a second. I would ask that the moving party hold on the motion until we get a little more discussion about just what is proposed. Would you be willing to do that? To just delay voting on the motion?
I'd be willing to listen to what Sam has to say.
Right. That would be in the spirit of town meeting. So let me set that aside for just a moment, and let's hear from Mr. Sam Jabber.
Good evening. Most of you know me. I'm Sam Jocelyn, building inspector. The reason we were looking at this property versus the one at the center was the issues we had back in 2008-9 that Ronnie spoke to, where we needed that money for those sandbags versus a bathroom. With that, common sense would say if we needed this money for sandbags versus a bathroom, that's not a great spot for public infrastructure, which is why we started looking at other locations. I don't have a preference as to where it goes. You know, I do stop down there during my inspections. It's great to have a bathroom, porta potties, or any type. The issues we have with the center island location or the center parking lot location are, it is in a V zone, which is a high hazard flood area, which is subject to wave action. The proposed property for purchase is in an A zone, which is only subject to still water flooding. With appropriate materials, the water would rise up. Right now it's made out of block, rise up, flood the building potentially, and end up emptying out. The potential at the center is potential for wave impact. You can try to engineer it, but it's generally not a recommended practice. The other difficulty with that, on either one of these, there's potential for needing a variance from the state to build in a flood hazard zone and try and lower that so we don't have miles of ramps to accommodate handicapped individuals. Either location would be a bad spot for elevators in a salt air condition. So we do want to try and stick with ramps if we have to, so the lower we can get it, the better. I think we'd have difficulty at the state level getting a variance in a V zone versus an A zone where the building would be subject to wave action. Other than that, it's your pleasure to follow whichever process you need, but from you know, all other things aside, from a building code standpoint, a lower hazard area, just by definition it being lower hazard, is a better location for it. I don't know if anyone has any other questions or if that gives you enough info on what we're looking at.
Catherine DeLay, 122 Elm. My question is there any time constraints on the sale of this piece of property that would be pushing us forward so that the property isn't sold out from under us before we make a decision about what to do? It seems like a reasonable question.
It's a property that is for sale. Since we're not the sellers, we're the buyers, we can't, we don't know. That's not answerable. Also, as a point of clarity.
Can you come up to the mic, please?
As a point of clarity here too, just checking with Tracy and members of the board, there's been no formal commitment from the state for any funds. So anything that we've had is we've had commitments, verbal commitments from Senator Tarr to help us in this effort, but there's nothing on the table that is concrete that guarantees any funding. So I just felt that that's important for people to know, that there's nothing, and it's not like there's a bathroom fund in the state budget that we are getting access to. It's all, we do have his support, but it's not for a specific project, and it's not a specific amount of money. And that is another unknown.
I'll agree with what Eric had just said. I think, did Salisbury just receive some, so I mean, it is in the air, but we also know that the state is not bulging at the seams with money right now either, so it is a process. And that's why we're starting into this now.
So if I understand what you're saying correctly, you're saying that the central parking lot area that we own now is in a flood zone, and you're concerned about building there, more concerned than across the street in the property you're planning on buying. Is that correct, my understanding?
Both properties are in a flood zone.
Okay.
One is in an A zone, which is your still water flooding, so the waters just rise up. The one at the center parking lot is a V hazard zone, which is subject to wave action. So it would be impact action, which is why one type of flooding over the other is I guess, more desirable if you...
So does this impact a bathroom that's not a porta potty? I mean, it ties into sewage?
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Do you wish to say anything more at this point? And I'd ask you to remain here and give the floor to you.
Steve Mangin. I generally say I live in Newbury, but for purposes of this discussion, I'll emphasize 14th Street on Plum Island. And again, follow-up question to Sam, since we're focusing on the discussion about tabling this motion or not. I've got another comment, depending on how the tabling motion plays out. But Sam, I understood Ron Barrett to make, a credible proposal, which has some blank spots in it, but credible, and also one that I understand has been approved already by the state, and in that sense maybe grandfathered in terms of the permitting process. Now, again, there's a lot of unknowns in the discussion we're having here. We're not having time for a full-blown proposal from Ron Barrett, that is. But in general, it seems like this is pointing towards why there's a lot of uncertainty, which might lead me to say, what's your take on the prior approval by the state?
No, there's no permits issued for anything at this point. So until those permits are issued by me, there's no permit. And to permit in a V zone is going to be more difficult than permitting in an A zone, just because we're going to be looking for variances, especially for that handicap access. Under Appendix G in the building code, there's, I want to say it's either 10 or 11 criteria that the Board of Building Regulations and Standards has to look at to grant the variance. For the A zone location, we meet the majority of them. For the V zone, it's about half. So, it looks like it would be more difficult to permit this in a V zone and get those variances from the state, just because of the nature of, its location and the potential impact.
Okay, next, I'll recognize Mr. Davis.
My name is Fred Davis, 59 Main Street, Byfield. So it seems to me that everybody here is in agreement. Everybody here is in agreement that we need something. I mean, them porta potties have been going on for a very long time, and they need to be done away with. But my question is, we have, if we buy that piece of property, we have an option if the parking lot goes up for sale behind it to buy it. How much money would that be? And I can see Sam's point, of the safety issues as far as getting it permitted. But that's so dangerous to walk from the beach across the street, and there's no parking there. There's at least some parking where we are, if we, I think like somebody said, we might just want to table this. We're all in agreement that we need something. The question is where. So it's just my thought that you might want to table it for a while.
Mr. Moderator, can I just want to make a comment on, what he just said something that made a lot of sense. The town, he had suggested that the town has an option to purchase the parking lot. We don't have an option to purchase. We have an option of the right of first refusal. So we're not going to be negotiating a price. It's whatever the market will give. The town has an option, first option, to refuse it. So that's one piece of clarification. The other piece of clarification I want to make is crossing the street. There are people that cross that street all the time now. There's parking lots across the street. They park down past the Plum Island Beachcomber and they walk up. So there's already people crossing the street. That's my only comment.
David Dempsey, 846th Street, Plum Island, Newbury. I'm a little perplexed by this whole situation here. It seems like we have two really good deals. And I don't understand why we're discussing one and not the other, or why we're having a discussion about a choice. It seems to me we have money from a land sale that has been set aside and approved to purchase a piece of property to build the bathrooms. We also have Ron, who said that he's got a commitment from Bruce Tarr saying that there could be money available for the state to build bathrooms or improve that area down there. I think we need more than just bathrooms down there. I don't know why we couldn't do both of them, and one be bathrooms and the other one be a first aid station. The other one be an emergency station for the police to have a place to come. Another one to be a lifeguard station. We're worried about kids crossing the street, but we don't have any lifeguards on the beach, and we have a really beach that's really treacherous. So I don't understand why we're having a discussion about which one we should accept when we should be looking to fulfill both of them. And I guess in my last statement, you go big or go home. Because I think we have a good opportunity to take advantage of both of these things, and we're sitting here discussing which one we should take. Why don't we move forward on purchasing the property to do the bathrooms, and let's talk to Senator Tarr and talk to Ron Barrett about continuing the gazebo and put some more facilities down there so that the people on Plum Island have lifeguards, have a lifeguard station, have a first aid station, have bathrooms, and then eventually have public parking. That to me seems like a better plan than sitting here spending the night talking about which plan we should take advantage of. Let's take advantage of both of them. And that's the way we should move in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jocelyn.
Also, just to clarify, the right of first refusal of the parking lot only comes if this property is purchased. We don't have that today. It becomes part of a negotiation process with this purchase. So don't leave here thinking that we already have that. That is contingent on purchasing this property.
Okay, yes.
Jim Moran, 104 Elm Street. Sam, the questions for you is, it appears that under the current rules, that existing building would have to be torn down to meet the requirements of being at least a couple of feet off the existing grade, is that correct?
Sound too soon. That's what we'd be going for the variance for. So either project would be to keep it at ground level so that we would not have to raise it up and avoid that.
But again, the current rules mean that if you stay by the current rules, we'd have to raise it up. So there's a potential that the building may have to be torn down. All right, so the answer to that question is yes. Now,
No, it's not. Good try, Jim. The answer to that question is we need relief from the Board of Building Regulations and Standards. And according to Appendix G and the conditions that need to be met, we meet most of those and we are very likely to get there.
Okay, again, there's a certain amount of speculation in your comments.
Absolutely.
Now, that being said, and if the building does have to be torn down, then effectively we're buying the land. The cost of the land would be paying at $350,000 is $10 million an acre. That's how it calculates. It's only 1,500 square feet. So that's an exorbitant amount of money for a small piece of property. I agree that we should table this motion I think if we make better informed decisions, if we gather and understand the facts, I think we can come to a better conclusion instead of forcing ourselves into a decision tonight, which we might not appreciate tomorrow. Pedestrian traffic is a problem. Potential of police also having to be there may also be an issue of cost. So I'm in favor of tabling the motion. Thank you.
Am I good to go?
Dale Williams, 12 Scotland Heights, Newbury. Quick question, how much is in the land sale fund currently?
I got that. Is this working? Very good. We have $408,875.23.
Okay, so we have 408,000, we're gonna spend 350. But one of the reasons behind this is first refusal on the adjacent parking lot where there's no money to buy it, even if it comes up for sale, at least from the land fund. Second point is, we haven't seen a design plan, we haven't seen what's the total investment going to be in broad terms of doing what we want to do. We're just starting the process to buy the land. There's going to be upkeep, there's going to be cleaning, there's going to be all that, just like the Mantra Field building. I'm not sure this has totally been thought through for the total cost. I mean, the need is there, we know that. But I'm not sure we've explored totally what this will cost the town to purchase it, build it, and then the ongoing maintenance. And we haven't looked at any alternatives that have been presented to the town to give us a perspective on that. Thank you.
Good evening, Bud Kelly, 24 School Street, Byfield, and the chairman of your Board of Assessors. I'm not speaking to you as an assessor, but I do live in Byfield, and you all that have the enjoyment of living on Plum Island do live on a beautiful island. But the last thing I remember is that the only place they're making land anymore is in the Hawaiian Islands, where the lava flow is creating new land. We don't have that happening here in Newbury, in Byfield or in Plum Island. And the location of this property, the timing of this seems very right. We only know that we want to provide better service as time goes on, and this will give us a great place to do it from.
Sarah Seabury Ward, 12 Riverfront, Newbury. It's just an observation, not a question. This morning I was there on the beach, and there was a caretaker and a man in a wheelchair with the blow-up wheels, and he was able to see the ocean. Let's remember the ocean. There are many things to be thought about, but one of them is that rare opportunity that we're here. And we said to each other, we're so lucky. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to thank Sam because he really fielded some of the questions that were not that easy. If we do table this tonight, I've certainly listened to what everyone has said, like I basically said in the very beginning, and I will try to make sure we meet all those conditions of what was stated that you would like for more information. And I do say to Ronnie that he really has to move forward on what he spoke about and have real concrete information for us for Springtown meetings so that we can move forward if that's what happens when this gets tabled.
Okay, normally this would come up on a vote, yes or no, on the motion. It comes up, however, on the pending motion to table the motion. And so a vote to table the motion is equivalent to a vote against the proposal made by the motion. which is in accordance with the article. So I'll ask you if you are in favor, if you are against proceeding any further with the proposal tonight, you vote yes on the motion to table. So, and then the noes will be to not table the motion, but proceed to any further discussion and then a vote on the motion itself. So, do you want to terminate the discussion now? If so, vote yes on the motion to table. All those in favor of the motion to table, say aye. Aye. All those opposed to the motion to table, say no. No. Okay, it's, I can't tell. We're going to have a counted vote. And so I will ask our, now remember the rules are anyone standing is not counted in the vote. To count in the vote, you have to be seated in one of these two sections or the bleachers up back. And I'll ask, and don't move or go walking around at this stage, okay? Because a lot depends on your position. So I'd ask the counters to tally the aye votes. Yep. Now it's a 2/3 vote. Okay. Okay, a motion to table takes a 2/3 vote in favor. All those in favor of tabling the motion say rise. And the counter will direct you when to sit down. All those opposed to the motion to table, please rise. vote was 83 to table, 111 opposed. It required a 2/3 vote in favor. The motion to table is defeated, and we'll proceed unless someone has anything further to say on the proposal itself. The motion. Hello? Okay. We have before us the motion to approve the sale of the land and building to the town for $350,000. Am I correct? That is the proposal. I'm sorry, no, hold up. Yeah, the numbers were 111 to 83. It was 83 for tabling and 111 opposed. Okay, it's the actual motion was to transfer the sum from the sale of land account for the purpose of purchasing the property at 31 Plum Island Boulevard that's been discussed. So I think we've heard everything on both sides. Yes? No, we need a 2/3 vote to pass this. So, okay? Because the 2/3 is on the other side. So, yes, Mr. Mangan, do you want to be heard or what? Okay.
I'm Steve Mangan on 14th Street. As I indicated when Sam was here, I had a follow-up comment that I wanted to make once the motion to table was done with. And I want to speak strongly against the proposal to buy the property. There are many issues I could cite, but I'll focus on one: the traffic, the traffic, the traffic. I have seen the traffic tied up at the center by people coming and going to the beach, but I've also seen the use of last year's porta-johns, and that basically there was non-stop activity for at least one of the porta-johns throughout the day, every minute of the day. Now I'm trying to translate that into what it's going to mean with people crossing the street, to use the hypothetical structure. I think it's going to mean traffic has to stop, traffic's going to be backed up. Some of us are simply trying to get off the island or onto the island, going to see an undue delay. And for that reason alone, as an island resident, I'm really against this proposed location.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, ma'am. You're the last person, then we'll proceed to the vote.
Glenna Etheridge, I live on Newman Road. So I don't live on Plum Island. I have just learned about this from reading the warrant when it was published. I don't know anything. I have a couple of questions. One is there was mention of this parking lot. That doesn't seem to be part of the warrant, but people are talking about it as perhaps part of the project. It wasn't presented to us. Is it part of the project? Is it additional cost? What is that?
Yeah, I think
that's
that was
one
answered.
question.
It's not.
And the other thing I just have to say, I think...
well, I should say it is involved in that the town, by purchasing the building, obtains a right of first refusal to purchase the parking lot.
Do we need the parking lot? Do we want it? How much is it going to cost? I just feel that none of that information was provided to us as voters. And I have to say, I know you all do very good work, but I think it's a bit irresponsible to to ask us to spend $350,000 for part of a project without giving us any indication of what the total cost will be.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Okay, the question has been moved. All those in favor of the proposal, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. Okay, we'll give it a count. All those in favor of the proposal, please rise. Same procedure as before.
We lost. Yeah, we lost. Yeah. Neutral. Stuck.
All those opposed, please rise. The vote is 122 in favor of transferring the land and doing the purchase, against 72 opposed. The proposal fails of the 2/3 vote and is defeated. Okay, proceed.
Hold on, we're still thinking about this.
There's a little calculation going on. Okay. We're moving to Article 5. Do I hear a motion on the article? Ms. Greco?
I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $9,711.97 from free cash to the police detail account.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded for the transfer. Do I hear any, does anyone wish to discuss it? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? And the motion under Article 5 passes. Article 6.
I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $162.73 from free cash to the 9/11 grant account.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Article 7.
I move that the town vote to accept the provisions of General Law, Chapter 48, Section 42, which establishes a fire department under the direction of the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. I'm sorry, what? There is. Selectman Greco.
I would just like to take a minute to thank the Fireman's Board of Engineers for their many years of tireless service that they've given us. I truly believe that we wouldn't be in the position where we are today if we didn't have them for all the years that they supported us. And I want to give them a heartfelt thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Article 8. J.R. Colby.
I move that the town vote to accept the provisions of GL Chapter 59, Section 5N, which reduces the property tax obligation of veterans in exchange for volunteer services.
Motion's made and seconded. Do I hear any discussion? Any, sir?
My name is William DeMayo. I live at 12 Orchard Street in Byfield. I'm sorry, my name is William DeMayo. I live at 12 Orchard Street in Byfield. First, I'd just like to share some information with you all. According to the 2017 census, there are 344 veterans in the town of Newbury. I happen to be one of them. I was in the Army on the ground in Vietnam. Currently, if you read Section 5N, it's the mirror image of Section 5K. Substitute persons over the age of 60 for the word veterans. So technically, any veteran residing in our town falls under 5K. They're already eligible. I fall in that category myself. Okay? My question is this. For 5K, the administration and placement of the people is done by the Council of Aging. For 5N, what do you propose to do? Have that reside with the Council on Aging or manage it separately? My understanding of the process is the town departments provide a request for a volunteer. Currently, they go to the Council on Aging. Right now, there are 18 active participants in this program. 7 from last year, 11 from this year. So we're talking about essentially extending this to veterans who are less than 60 years of age. So I'm in favor of this, and I hope you all are.
Okay, does anyone have an answer to the question? Yes, Mr. Kelly?
We're very happy to say that the Council on Aging will indeed administer this as well.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. All those opposed? It's unanimous that the ayes have it. Okay, Article 9, which is...
I move that the town vote to amend Chapter 41 of the town's general bylaw as printed in the warrant.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Does anyone wish to speak? Sir? I would ask the Chief of Police if he would be available to speak also. He's the one who submitted the article.
Ted Russell, 10 Orchard Street, Byfield. I have a question for Town Council, and depending on the answer, I have a proposed amendment. The question is there anything in the state laws that exempts medical marijuana from this bylaw?
Yeah.
Ginny Kramer, Town Council. Medical marijuana is by definition under state law exempted from prosecution for use as it is directed. That doesn't mean that you can smoke it in public. So this bylaw really goes to public use, which is not a right of anybody who is prescribed medical marijuana and is, taking that medicine.
If somebody, say a handicapped person, that's on prescribed medical marijuana is on the beach and needs to take a bite of a cookie, do they have to leave the beach and go home?
No, I don't think this goes to taking a bite of a cookie, I think. And the chief can speak to this. This would be the smoke from lit marijuana that would be impacting other people in the vicinity.
It just seems like if somebody knew these bylaws and was not aware that it's exempted outside of the bylaws, it puts them in a bad spot when they're doing something that's...
Well, I think generally the people who are getting medical marijuana have a lot of resources available to them to educate themselves as to where and when it's appropriate for them to take their medication. But the chief of police is the one who proposed this bylaw, and I think that probably first we should have had you talk about the reasons for this, and then I hear your concern.
Thank you.
Okay.
Michael Riley, Police Chief. The medical marijuana issue is, as far as the police go, it's a non-issue to us if somebody is legitimately taking medical marijuana and has the proper documentation that allows them to do that. They wouldn't be cited under this bylaw. The whole purpose of this, and in the warrant, I copied it directly from the model bylaw from the Commonwealth of Mass that they put out, we have a public drinking bylaw. You can't be publicly drinking. We're trying to prevent public intoxication on our beaches, on our roadways, and our parks. It only makes sense with the legalization of marijuana that we prevent public intoxication by means of marijuana on our beaches, on our roadways, in our vehicles, in our parks. Marijuana smoke is more invasive than somebody hiding a beer in a koozie, trying to sneak a beer into on the beach. Marijuana smoke affects everybody around. So I thought it was very important that we get this bylaw out there. So come next beach season and, in our parks and schools, we don't have people smoking marijuana with impunity with really no enforcement action. That's it. If anyone has any other questions, I'd be happy to answer. Yes, ma'am.
Margie Powell, 24R Columbia Way in Newbury. I just have a question. The fine for using alcohol in public is $100 per offense. The fine for using marijuana in public is $300 per offense. And in the rationale, you say this article brings marijuana in line with the current restrictions on alcohol, but it's 3 times as much.
Right. Like I said, I copied the bylaw directly from the state. That's what the state's recommending. You want to raise the fine for alcohol, public alcohol, to $300, not yourselves out. But I mean, I'm all for it. So really, that That's it. The state recommended that. Most of the other towns that are proposing this are going with that, and so I just tried to keep it right in line with what everybody else is doing. They want to reinvent the wheel. Thank you.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the article, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, and the article passes. And the motion passes. Article 10. Select.
I move that the town vote to amend the Town of Newbury zoning bylaw, Article 10, General Regulations, by adding a new section, Section 9710H, a temporary moratorium on recreational marijuana establishments, as printed in the warrant, and further amend Article 10 in the table of contents to add Section 97-10H entitled Temporary Moratorium on Recreational Marijuana Establishments.
Second. Motion is made and seconded. And I would ask the Martha? No, Martha Taylor? No? Okay. Mr. Weiss, he's the chairman of the planning board.
Good evening, John Weiss, Chairman of the Planning Board of the Town of Newbury. So I just want to go over a couple of issues to clarify some of the issues that are part of this request to you to put a temporary moratorium. The purpose of why we brought this forward is to create a temporary moratorium on recreational marijuana facilities. The Planning Board held a public hearing on September 6th of 2017 and voted to approve a moratorium and forwarded that decision to the Selectmen to be placed on the warrant for tonight's meeting. Now we have a bylaw for, as we were just talking about, medical marijuana, and that was approved at our 2014 annual town meeting after the town had established a 14-month moratorium at the 2013 special town meeting. Now, during that moratorium, as the bylaw was being developed, staff and planning board members visited a medical marijuana dispensary in Portland, Maine, which was instrumental in giving the board a better understanding of how a medicinal marijuana facilities operate. And just as a point of interest, we have had no request for such a facility in town since we passed that bylaw. So the sale and cultivation of recreational marijuana was approved statewide on November 8th, a year ago, by 54 to 46%. It was approved in Newbury by 54 to 46%. Now what's happened is that it's been in the paper an awful lot. The state has appointed a Cannabis Control Commission, which is in charge of charged by the legislature to develop regulations for the approval, operation, and management of recreational marijuana facilities. Now those regulations will not be operational and will not be put forward until March 15th of 2018, so it's 5 months from now. So during that period of time, if the moratorium passes, staff and the board will start working on developing a bylaw in the same way that we did for medicinal marijuana, and then bring it forward for town meeting probably next fall is my guess. One of the things I want to bring forward is, as of today, 102 municipalities have taken action one way or another on recreational marijuana. 80 have passed temporary moratoria. 17 have passed prohibitions entirely on recreational marijuana, and really only 5 have approved the use. So that's a bit of a change, and there's been an awful lot written in the papers recently about those advocates for it, think that a lot of towns are going against it, but Amesbury is considering it, Newburyport is considering it, West Newbury, Merrimack, I think, is one of the towns that went against it. So there's an awful lot that we need to study as part of this, and so we heartily recommend that we go into a moratorium because we're just not ready for this yet. So.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Any further discussion, ma'am?
Catherine DeLay, Elm Street. You're saying don't go into a moratorium? Because I misunderstood what you just said. Thank you.
Okay. Sir.
David Broll, 30 Main Street, Byfield. At the selectmen's meeting that happened a couple of months ago, a month ago, one of the concerns was that if we said no, then the possibility of someone using the site that I guess was maybe proposed near the state police department no one would look at that. And you can go either way on this, but I think I'm concerned about the town of Newbury saying no to possibly tax revenue, and there's supposed to be a huge amount of tax revenue if some kind of facility, whether it was a growing facility or if it was something that was put near the state police department. I'm just thinking that, it's probably a great idea to think about it, but I also think that we're pushing people away. And you just see that Raleigh has a facility right now for medical marijuana, and Georgetown does. So I think that we may be missing on something, maybe tax revenue.
Sir.
Keith Stromsky, 35 School Street, Byfield. If we pass a moratorium with towns such as Raleigh, Ipswich, West Newbury defeated theirs last night, we're putting ourselves at a disadvantage. All these other towns will be able to pick up on either dispensaries and grow areas, as Raleigh's picked up, I think, 2 facilities are opening in the next year. We're losing possible revenue. None of the sites that are, any things that I think are out there for us to do are not going to require a special use permit. I mean, all of them are going to have to go through some sort of an approval process that happens above and beyond zoning. We don't have any places where they can just hop in and say, we're going to put it right here and have it be totally zoned for that, besides maybe a couple bars. Anyway, sorry. Anything's going to require a special use permit, and if we put a moratorium on it and everybody just turns and walks around and goes to another town, we're going to lose out. Sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Weiss? Yeah, okay. Well, here. Yeah, would you want to hear? Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Bud. Bill Cooper, 35 High Road, and by the way, former co-chair of the Finance Committee. I'm against the moratorium, and I recommend that we vote no on Article 10. I recall from my days on the Finance Committee that there were a lot of discussions about the tax burden on the residents, and that we really needed to get a commercial base of business going in the town of Newbury, and that has happened very, very slowly over the last 10 years or so. So now we have an opportunity, right? We have an opportunity to extend our commercial tax base and bring substantial new revenue to the town of Newbury. And while I agree that there should be some thinking about it and looking at the state laws, I don't think we need a moratorium in order to accomplish what they need to accomplish. There'll be plenty of time to do it. He mentioned the state's going to come up with the laws in March. Should be able to do that very quickly. The applications that are going to go in April are going to take some time. And so I also believe that we'd be missing out on an opportunity. Now, the state law for the marijuana has 2 key stipulations. First, no marijuana establishment can operate without a state license and approval of the town. So not any pot shop can just show up and put a shingle out. It has to be approved by the state and the Board of Selectmen, and they have the right to pick whoever they want, whenever they want, and put it within the zoning reason. So for that reason, I think a moratorium is redundant. Second, and more importantly, we talked about revenue. I'm sitting here listening to the gazebo and the bathrooms and so forth. The state law sets up what's called a community agreement. And in the community agreement, a marijuana establishment has to put 3% of their sales to the town. So that could mean well over $1.2 million over 5 years. I've looked at a number of establishments, typical establishments in Massachusetts, in Colorado, et cetera, and given the average size, $1.2 million is not an unreasonable amount of money to bring into the town. So that can go a long way to pay for town hall improvements, senior center, police vehicles, police station upgrades, bathrooms and the gazebo, you name it. So, without having to do overrides, and we know that overrides don't pass in this town. So if we approve this moratorium, I also believe we're going to be sending a message to this new industry that Newbury is closed for business. So I think we should not give up the tax windfall, and I say we vote no on the moratorium, and let's ask the selectmen and the planning board, you know, to quickly attract a responsible business, right? Nobody came forward for the police station, but you never know if somebody's going to come forward now. And let's generate, you know, the new revenue and relieve the residents of the tax burden. Okay. As some lawyer says, let's get the tax revenue we deserve, right? So.
Okay, thank you. You make your point.
Let me just respond and then, okay. Let me go over the numbers again. Only 5 municipalities have approved this in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The majority have had moratoria. It's not that Newbury would be off by itself. Newbury would be part of a large group of towns that has decided to take a longer look at this. It also does not mean, as someone had said, one of the speakers, that we're voting no. I mean, we went through a moratorium in 2013 on the medicinal marijuana, and it took 14 months, and we developed a bylaw, which is a terrific bylaw, which basically establishes 2 areas in town where medicinal marijuana can locate. So I think that there are a number of things that speak in our favor of trying to do a moratorium. The second thing is that we have had no interest from the private sector. The town planner has had no one come to her and say, we need to locate a pot shop in Newbury. No one has done that. So I think that waiting a period of time, making sure we get it right, and then also waiting for the state to put up their regulations in March makes an awful lot of sense. Right now we have no idea what the state wants to do, and if the state puts down very strict regulations, well, we're going to have to respond to that. So our point of view is the same as it was when we did the medicinal marijuana, that we ought to wait for the period of time when the state comes up with theirs, and then we'll do ours. So there's a woman down at the end.
Yes, ma'am. This is the last speaker. People want to get home. Okay, good. And you'll be short.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Good start.
I am short as well as I will be short.
Good start. Yes, right.
Marlene Coslow, Caldwell Farm Road, Byfield.
Right.
It puzzles me that some of the people in this room are interested in the revenue for the taxes and so forth. I appreciate that. We need all the revenue we can get. But why is it that marijuana in a pot shop is more important than something that we turned down several years ago, which was a grocery store? I do not understand. Can anyone explain that? Moratorium is a very good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to call for the vote now. Oh, Mr. Kelly?
Just one last thing. I just wanted to confirm that I had read this correctly, that the moratorium is a temporary moratorium to the end of 2018.
Or when we come up with the bylaw.
Okay. Whichever comes first. Okay. Very
Okay,
good. So
this is
the
just
longest it would be
clarification.
is the end of 2018. So we're talking about 14 months. Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of the temporary moratorium, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Nay. gets voted down. Yep. I think,
Oh, yeah, are we done?
okay, don't leave yet.
Don't leave.
Okay. I think we're going to have to do a standing vote.
Two-thirds vote, two-thirds.
It takes 2/3 to pass the moratorium. All those in favor of the moratorium, rise.
You rising up?
All those opposed to the moratorium, please rise. Vote was 70 in favor of the moratorium, 77 opposed, and Article 10 motion goes down. Thank you for coming to town meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.